Hello, my name is Donovan Paschall. I used to live on Mount Kilimanjaro, and tonight we're going to talk about climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. I'm going to share with you everything you need to know about climbing Africa's highest mountain. My company's name is Embark Exploration Co, and we plan hundreds of adventures up Mount Kilimanjaro every year. So let's get started. This is the picture of Mount Kilimanjaro from Kenya. So this is that classic Kilimanjaro picture that we think of from the Lion King. This is Amboseli Game Reserve. This is in Kenya, looking north and south into Tanzania, the other country where Kilimanjaro is. So I just like to give perspective on the mountain. If you do have any questions tonight or want to email me, donovan@embarkexplorationco.com. So this is on the opposite side of Kilimanjaro from south looking north. So this is at the town of Moshi at the base of Mount Kilimanjaro. So the route we're going to be talking about today is the Lemosho route, which starts on the left-hand side of your screen, comes around the front of your screen near the N, J, A, and R, and then goes up to the summit near O. So this is the town that you're based out of, usually if you decide to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. Now here's a picture that's up closer. So this is about day 4 to day 5 on Kilimanjaro. As you can see, the glaciers that are coming down this southern side of Kilimanjaro, a little bit more dramatic, but as you can see, still a very reasonable mountain for average people to climb. We like to call Kilimanjaro everyone's Everest because everyone can typically do it as long as they take their time. So a little bit about Embark. I used to live in the foothills of Kilimanjaro in 2002 and 2003, 2019 and prior, about 300 people per year on Kilimanjaro. I just got back from Kilimanjaro in March, and Embark has a group that summited about 3 days ago and a group that's summiting in 3 days from now. So lots of things happening on Kilimanjaro. We have a very high success rate, more than 95%. We haven't had someone not make it to the top since early in 2019. And this is based on an 8-day trip. It's very important. We have a very high I was the founder of the Kilimanjaro Porters Assistance Project, Fair Wages for Porter. You must work with a company that pays fair wages. 85% of the people on Kilimanjaro, the companies, do not pay fair wages. Charity treks. So we do lots of charity treks for large fundraising organizations such as the American Cancer Society, Leukemia Lymphoma Society, etc. So let's talk about Kilimanjaro. So Kilimanjaro is a huge mental and physical challenge. So a lot of people rank it harder than a marathon. What you have to think about is you're sleeping outside for 7 nights typically. You're hiking at very high elevations. Your summit night is going to be probably the longest you've ever hiked. So it's a huge mental and physical challenge. That said, it can be climbed by anyone in reasonable shape, again, as long as you take your time. There's 4 main routes of Kilimanjaro: Lemosho, Machame, Marangu, and Rongai. There is another one called the Umbwe, but we're not going to be talking about that tonight. I highly recommend the Lemosho route on an 8-day route because you have a high probability of getting to the top. Kilimanjaro is the second easiest of the 7 summits, followed by first being Mount Elbrus in Russia. The cool thing about Kilimanjaro is it does not require any technical equipment, no ropes, no crampons, no ice axe. You're hiking every single day. So if there's one slide I want you to pay attention to tonight, it's this one. It's the Lemosho route. So if you're coming to Kilimanjaro and you look at this, you're going to be starting at around 7,500 feet and you're going to be climbing for 6.5 days to 19,341 feet. After you make it to the summit, you're going to be going 1.5 days down, right? Different route down, and you're going to see a visual of that later. So you have 2 nights in hotels in the front, 8 days, 7 nights in the mountain, 1 night in hotel at the end. So at a minimum, you need 11 days, 10 nights in Tanzania. Obviously, you'll lose a day flying there and gain a day coming back. But overall, this is what you do. Most people like to fly out of the States on a Friday, arrive on a Saturday, rest on Sunday. They start climbing on Monday. They come back down the following Monday and they fly home Tuesday, or they go on safari as well. So the climb itself, 42 miles, right? Difficult. A fully supported expedition style trip. You'll see what that means in just a minute. So essentially that means we're bringing lots of stuff to the mountain, your food, toilets, mess tent, tables, chairs, etc. So for a group of 10 people, you would have almost a 60-person support staff. So it's typically a 5-to-1 ratio from porters to clients, and typically a guide to client ratio is 1-to-2. So a group of 10 people, 60 other people will be climbing the mountain with you. So here is an example of a big group with all their porters, guides, and assistant guides. This is at the Mueca route on the way out. As you can see, they're all happy that they summited, but you can see it takes a lot of help to make you get to the top of Kilimanjaro. And that's because of the food, right? There's 23 meals that each person will eat based on an 8-day trip. And so 23 meals, 10 people, 230 meals needed to make from scratch. So a lot of food goes on to coming up Kilimanjaro. So here's what the route looks like from like kind of an eagle's eye view, starting on the left-hand side of the near the Landrosi Gate. Your first day, you hike up to Mtimkuba, the big tree camp, only 3.5 miles. You only hike 3.5 miles that day because you don't actually start trekking until about 1 in the afternoon, typically. Move on to Shira 2 or Shira 1. Shira 2, Barranco, Karanga, Barafu. We're going to go over this a little bit later. As you can see, the summit, you're going to go up 3 miles. You're going to descend 7.5 miles down to Mica Hut and out. So this is conceptually what the route looks like, and you're going to get a better visual here in just a moment. So if you look at this picture right here, it's a good kind of understanding of how it works. The red line, where the red line meets the green line, is typically day 4 on an itinerary. It's an acclimatization hike. So right when you're meeting the green line, you've already been hiking for 4 days. Day 4, 5, and 6 are on the green line, kind of coming around. So there's camps all throughout that, and that takes a long time to hike around that. Day 6 is where the green line meets the light blue line. So up near there, you're going to go up to the summit on the blue line, and the purple line, you're going to go over to the highest point in Africa. When you descend back down, you're going to take that light blue line all the way down. So that's kind of conceptually. So as you can see, Kilimanjaro is an approach mountain, meaning just to even get up to the beginning of the climb takes many, many days if you're coming from the Lemosho route. All right, how do you stay safe on Kilimanjaro? Slow approach up the mountain. So in Kiswahili, we call it pole pole, which means slow, slow. The slower you go, the higher your probability of making it to the top. In addition to, if you can hydrate, that will help you as well and be fit. Daily medical checks. Make sure you work with an outfitter that does daily medical checks. Pulse oximeter checks you out, does a kind of surveys how you're feeling. Do you have nausea? Do you have a headache? What have you been eating? And checking those things, very, very important to see how you're doing when you're climbing this mountain. Comprehensive medical kit, that's a given. And at a minimum, they should have an oxygen, a couple canisters of oxygen on the trip. Remember, if you do take oxygen on Kilimanjaro, you should descend. You should not keep ascending, but you must work with an outfitter that has oxygen. Best time of year, very important question. Everybody wants to know. Kilimanjaro is 3 degrees south of the equator. So it is a mountain that can be climbed a lot of the year. We typically do mid-December through March and mid-June through October. So as you can see, it's climbed almost 8 or 9 months out of the year. Times we tend to avoid rainy season, April, May, beginning of June. And there's a second rains that sometimes comes on Kilimanjaro in November into December. But generally speaking, Kilimanjaro can be climbed most of the year. So what's the weather like? Probably the most impossible question for me to answer. So as you can see, this group right here, it's raining. They're at Lava Tower. It's an acclimatization hike between Shira 2 and Barranco Camp. It's going to take you up to 15,000 feet. It is raining. However, Kilimanjaro's weather is always raining. A lot of time you can get up here above the clouds, and maybe just a little bit later, you're not going to be hiking and you're just going to be hiking in your fleece. So weather is constantly changing on Kilimanjaro, but generally it's a moderate mountain to hike on. Here you can see another one of the classic famous flora and fauna of Kilimanjaro. You can see these people are hiking with a poncho, but then it changes rapidly, maybe a few hours later. A lot of times Kilimanjaro is dry throughout the year. Again, if you have any questions, you can always email me at donovan@embarkexplorationco.com. Okay, so what do you carry? So you carry a day pack, and in that day pack, you will have 3 liters of water, like this Nalgene bottle right here, 3 liters of water, usually 1 liter in here, or 2 to 3 liters in your CamelBak, right? In that back, you will also have rain gear, maybe some sunglasses, a little bit of food, but generally you're just carrying something like these bags right here. So what is camp like? Here's what camp is like. As you can see, you have Mount Hardware Trango tents. Those are 3-person tents built for, kind of used for 2 people. You typically have a toilet, which is the toilets on the far right over there. You have a mess tent. That's that black tent that can fit a lot of people. So this is kind of what a camp would look like on Kilimanjaro. Here's another picture. As you can see, our bathroom here, the green tent right in front of us. You see our first ascent tent right over there. That's where some of our porters sleep. And again, you can kind of look around and get an idea. I think about half of this camp is an Embark group. There's a lot of hanging out at camp. So usually between Barranco and Karanga and Barafu camps, you usually are arriving earlier in the day. You have a lot of time to hang out. And that's because you need to let your body acclimatize for your final ascent up the mountain, which you're going to see here in just a moment. So lots of hanging out, getting to know friends. As you can see, these guys are even texting. Looks like one of them in the middle is texting on the mountain. You can get service on most of Kilimanjaro, depending upon a few variables. Some other kind of classic pictures here. But again, this is inside one of the mess tents. A lot of people like dome tents too, but these can hold more people. We do have dome tents. But again, here's a group that's getting ready for breakfast. Food on Kilimanjaro can accommodate anybody, vegetarians, vegans, gluten-free. We've done it all. Okay, so how much weight can you bring? Very important question, right? So on average, we want you to bring under 33 pounds. So remember, those porters are going to carry your gear, your 33 pounds in your one bag, right? And they have to carry their own gear too, right? So 33 pounds, most people come in the high 20s, 28, 29 pounds. We have a gear list that you can see if you'd like to reach out to me. But here's what it looks like. You get one bag. So you're going to put all your stuff in an extra large North Face duffel. You're going to put in there your sleeping bag. You're going to put your sleeping pad, and you're going to put all your gear, right? And this group chose to buy mostly black bags. But again, you can get any type of North Face extra large bag. Occasionally people do a large bag too, but you have to be a pretty good packer to do that. What is the hardest part? All right, this is the most interesting piece here. So the hardest part is the summit night, and you're going to see why. All right, so here's what it looks like when you're headed to the summit, right? You have a headlamp on, you have maybe a balaclava over your face, you have your water accessible, and you have on a lot of warm gear. So on your summit night, you're going to wear your base layer, right? Like your thermal underwear. You're going to wear typically 2 warmth layers, right? And then you're going to wear a shell, right? So Kilimanjaro, it can be cold on summit night, especially if it's windy. Here's another picture of a gentleman hiking up, all the gear on. You're going to have your thermal underwear on, insulated pants, and then typically probably some kind of rain pants or pants over that. So it can be cold. When I was climbing in March with a group, beautiful outside, but the wind really made it much, much more difficult. There's not always one in Kilimanjaro, but I'm saying that there can be. So here's kind of a cool picture of the group at nighttime. Beautiful, beautiful stars. This next picture is one of my favorite pictures. And this is a picture of just the hike at night. So you can see very, very slow steps. And you're going to go up this for 7 to 8 hours up. So you're going to be coming from Barafu camp, and you're going to be climbing close to 4,000 feet in the middle of the night. Pole pole. Remember, slow, slow. So once the sun comes up, you realize that you can make it to the top. You can see one of the ridges. You can see Kilimanjaro. The ground doesn't always look this dry. Sometimes there might be some snow or ice or things like that, but usually it's a pretty well-worn path. So at night, again, this is a kind of an example of what it would look like at night. That red line representing the 4,000 feet. You're going to come up to get to the ridge, not the summit, the ridge in the middle of the night. And when you're looking at this top of Kilimanjaro, this is a huge, enormous mountain on the top. You can see the northern glaciers over there that we saw on the very first slide, the southern glaciers. You can see some in the middle. You can see the ash pit. Some people do come up another route called the Western Breach that we do for kind of a more elite group of trekkers. And occasionally people sleep here in the crater. So again, 7 hours up and 7 hours down. And we're going to discuss that. You are going to stop on that 7 hours down and try to take a power nap and eat some food. But typically on your summit night and descent, you're looking at anywhere from 14 to 18 hours of hiking. And that's how everyone does it. So again, kind of here's another great picture of where you come up to the top of the ridge and then where you hike over to. Now, even that only looks like a short distance. That actually takes about 45 minutes to hike over to. So you get to the top and then you hike over to Uhuru Peak. So Uhuru Peak is the highest point in Africa. Uhuru in Kiswahili means freedom. So here's a group at the top. You do not have to wear red jackets. This was just a foundation that was trekking with us. But notice the ground here, very, very dry. Looks like they're having a good time. Weather looks great. But look at this next picture. Again, same position. Obviously, much more snow that happened to show up there. This is a little bit abnormal, but as you can see, you can kind of get anything near the top. So some people, if we have time permitting, like to see the glaciers on Kilimanjaro. They're actually totally amazing. And this picture doesn't really do it justice. They're much bigger and longer and stretch for incredible distances. So how much does it cost typically? It depends upon lots of different factors, ratio of guides and porters, fair wages is a huge one, hotels, airport transfers, quality of the guides, right? So a lot of Embark guides have been hiking or climbing for 30 years, at least, 300 to 400 summits. Number of those, you're going to look at about $3,000 to $6,000, depending upon the company. We charge $35.95 for 3 nights in hotels, high ratio of guides, fair wages, and many other great things, and my expertise. So again, here's a kind of a cool picture. So again, you can kind of see it. Remember the lines that I was showing you. So you're kind of coming up the left-hand side of the screen. Team Cool Bush, your 1, your 2, Lava Tower. That's that acclimatization hike where it was raining. You're going to drop back down to Barranco Camp, which is 13,000 feet. That line doesn't really do it justice. Over to Karanga Camp, short day. Karanga to Barafu, shorter day, right? Then you're going to kind of hang out there, try to go to bed at 7 at night, wake up at midnight, grind up that mountain in the middle of the night, come back down, rest. Remember that 7 hours, 7 hours up, 7 hours down. You're going to come back there, go back to your tent, try to sleep, eat some lunch, and then descend all the way to Mueca Hut. You're going to sleep at Mueca Hut. There is a higher hut that a higher area that we can use sometimes, but Mueca is down in the trees and out of the wind. And then your final day is from Mueca Camp out to the park gate. So core pieces to remember. Take your time. The longer you're on the mountain, the higher the success rate is, right? So if you see anyone throwing you a 5 or 6 day trip, not worth it. Don't fly halfway around the world to try to run up the mountain quick. And remember to pay fair wages. Be part of the Kilimanjaro Porters Assistance Project. It's a thing that tries to make sure that the porters are receiving some of the benefits for your trip that are over there, that they also are properly clothed, that they're being fed, and that the tipping is above the board, which is kind of a process. Plan at least 9 months to 1 year in advance. There are some people that do it in 3 and 4 months, but generally you have to take a lot of time off of work. It's relatively expensive with flights and the trip. And so plan 9 months in advance if you want to join into a group. You must train for a minimum of 3 months to prepare, better 4 to 6. If you reach out to me, I can send you a copy of a training plan if you want to see what that is like. Remember, that's Donovan at embarkexplorationco.com. You can get the training plan off of our website as well. Invite friends. Kilimanjaro can be done in anyone in reasonable shape. Right now on Kilimanjaro, we have an 18-year-old. We've had as young as 12 twins, young as 12, and we've had people in their late 70s as well. So it can be done like that. So again, if you have any questions, you can go to this website to get the training guide. You can reach out to me Otherwise, it was great talking to you about Kilimanjaro, and I look forward to seeing you on the mountain.